Well, welcome back to another episode of the Kay Coy Show. Great to have you here today. With me is a friend and colleague, James Gorrie. James is actually a writer. You may have seen him, some of his writings on Epoch Times. We also work together at CanaGlobal. Welcome, James. Great to have you here today. Let's dig in and talk about what's going on in California.
Sounds good, Nancy. Thanks for having me. Yeah, lots going on in California. California's burning up.
You know, it's devastating. This is so near and dear to my heart because I grew up as a CAL FIRE baby. When I was born, my dad was, bat chief for CAL FIRE. This is in King City, California. We moved all over the state. He retired as one of the few chiefs for the Amador Eldorado Alpine unit. So I remember being a little girl, James, and he was livid with folks, Greenpeace people literally tying themselves to trees because they were green and they wouldn't burn, handcuffing themselves. And he is one of the most stable, fun guy, but just 82 years young, but not a lot shakes him. And he was livid because he would say, if this fuel is not cleaned out, the state is going to go up like a Roman candle.
Yep,
and it's exactly what has happened.
He was right. Yep, absolutely. And the state, look, the state, environmentalism has become kind of it's a catch-all that says whatever you do in the name of the environment is correct and right and not to be done, and supersedes all other arguments because it's quote unquote for the environment. But that's obviously not the case. Environmentalism is a kind of a Trojan horse for political control, for getting rid of people in terms of their homes or their livelihoods, controlling water, whether no matter how many people it affects negative, like the farmers, and as we're seeing now, Southern California fire departments and fire authorities unable to tap into or to get access to water. The reservoirs are empty. There's not enough water to put the fires out. So your father's absolutely correct.
But it's devastating. I mean, we saw this in Paradise, California. We've seen these just rampant fires, and some of them obviously are arson, and some of them are electrical fire. I mean, there's a million reasons, right? But for heaven's sake, why is the infrastructure? I just don't get the infrastructure. I don't understand why the people that we are electing are looking at this and taking such a just a lax approach. I mean, I remember when this, I was a handful of years ago when the Paradise Fire happened, and Gavin Newsom was on the news, literally ridiculing the CEO of PG&E and blaming them for it. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, hold on. If you go up to Paradise, this little town, right, in Northern California, you've got these wood poles and these electrical wires and stuff. This stuff takes years and years and years to replace. It's not something you just replace overnight. And then on top of it, my son, who is now just was promoted this last couple of years ago as an engineer to CAL FIRE. I remember when he was on that fire in Santa Cruz, and I'm not kidding you, James. He had been up 96 hours straight, literally hallucinating because he was so tired. And he said, and I drove up there because I was so concerned. We were still living at the Bay at the time, and he said, Mom, we were driving through this area and I saw embers. So I jumped off the truck, grabbed the hose. And as I did, Mom, I went down 3 feet into brush. It's all fuel.
Yeah. There's some really big factors. things. Number one, everybody in California knows that Santa Ana winds happen and fires happen. We live with it.
They've been going on since I was a little girl. It was every year. It was Santa Ana winds, and we knew a fire was going to break out. It was only a matter of time. It wasn't
whether it breaks out from a power line down or an arson. And we were seeing that in today's fires in California. The thing is that so you have that understanding. So then you have to have an infrastructure put together. And the water authorities and the power authorities and so forth, especially the water authorities, it's their job to make sure the reservoirs are full, that their hydrants work, that there's enough people to go around in terms of firefighters and resources and trucks and planes and all of those things. And then the third thing is we have this ridiculously unbelievable weather with 80 to 100 mile an hour gusts of wind, which is just unprecedented, at least in my lifetime. Right. I lived in California most of my life. I relocated to North Carolina. There's three factors. And look, we know the fires come out. We know the Santa Ana winds. We know that we have to have we need to be prepared and maintain our preparedness.
Right.
Baseline. The only difference is 100 mile an hour winds. But the 100 mile an hour winds notwithstanding, why were reservoirs empty? Why were there fires?
That's what I'm talking. That's exactly what I'm talking about. What in the world are you cutting $17 million out of the budget in California for fire safety? It's ludicrous to me. After you've seen what's gone on in Lahaina, after you've seen all of these fires in California, I just don't understand the ineptness. I just don't understand. The insurance premiums. My parents live up in El Dorado County. They live on 5 flat wooded acres. And James, the insurance premiums are just out of this world. My parents are in their 80s and they're fine financially, but a lot of people are not in their financial situation, and it's catastrophic. And then look at all these homes that are right on the water in Malibu. These homes are gone. No, these people's lives are gone. They are gone.
It has a strange and disturbing resemblance to Lahaina. You've got a waterfront community right on the ocean. There ought to be plenty of water, but the water was turned off or lacking in both.
Why?
And you had so you had the inability to fight the fire. You had houses surrounded by water, essentially, very wealthy communities, and very strange weather patterns. So those are the commonalities. See it just up front. There may be others, but why that's happening, I think people are bothered by that. If they're not, they ought to be. They ought to be asking.
They have to be. You have to be asking yourself, what is going on? Because this isn't a blame game. Because I think all of us we have dear friends that have literally lost everything. Thank you, God, that they're alive and they got out safely. I think James Woods just said, by the grace of God, his house was spared. He was absolutely under the impression that it was gone. It did somehow survive.
Didn't Mel Gibson lose his house and Jennifer Aniston?
I believe so. I know Paris Hilton lost hers, Mandy Moore lost hers. But and those were celebrities, and
they'll recover.
Most of them are recovered, right? Being in finance as many years as I have, there's a lot of people that look like you move to a lifestyle, right? You live the lifestyle, right? And you take a $6 or $8, $10, $12 million hit, that hurts anybody. And I don't care how much money you make. And so it's just devastating on so many levels. The one thing that just it keeps resonating in my mind, and again, I'm trying really hard to be not pointing the finger at anybody, but I find it ironic that in Australia, there has been some catastrophic fires. In Oregon, we've had some catastrophic fires. Lahaina, Hawaii, we've had catastrophic fires. California, catastrophic fires. What is the one thing that's consistent for all blue states?
All blue states, unpreparedness. And
I heard somebody online. I thought I was going to literally go through the television. where the mayor, I mean, she really didn't have anything to say. She was more concerned about inclusion in LA. Well, guess what? Now you've got inclusion. Everybody is joined together. There's no doubt. Everybody's joined together, and we don't care if we're Democrats or Republicans right now. We care about the fact that we have lives that are lost. We have homes that are gone. Lives have been really put in a serious compromised position. You think in terms of possessions of people. Some of the folks, one of my husband's dearest friends, they lost their home, and he is in Pacific Palisades, and one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. And not sure we agree all the time politically, but I truly love these people. And everything he's had, all the memorabilia for all these years, gone. You can't replace a lot of that stuff, right?
You cannot, but rather lose memorabilia than lives. I think that's a
statement. Of course. And they would be the first to say that. Like, we're alive. We got out.
Yeah, the bigger question, or one of the effects, not the question, but one of the takeaways, the consequences of this, as you point out, they're all in blue states. This of the left. This may be the delegitimization of the left. People who lost everything, who voted for the people who left the states and the cities and the towns unprepared, they must be thinking to themselves, people in power, protecting, doing their basic civil responsibility in their offices. They ought to be asking that question. Some are, some 100%. Aren't answering it yet, but they may be asking it in the near future, because the reality is, it doesn't matter how many reservoirs you have or how many hydrants you have if there's no water. If they have,
what does it matter? And that's the other thing. So when my dad retired at Cal Fire after 41 years, he ended up going to work for it was a nonpartisan position for El Dorado Irrigation District. And I think he was at EID, and that's El Dorado County, by the way, in California. I think he was probably there a week. And he was like, wait a minute, what are we doing for infrastructure? What are we doing for making sure these dams are working? What are we doing to make sure that we have water? What do we make? All these things need to be taken care of. And I just am so tired of the incompetence of the people that we continue to elect. And I think there just has to be some absolute change. These people are doing jobs that they're so concerned about.
DEI. The DEI, it's the woke DEI. They're not hiring on merit. They're hiring on an intersectional qualifications or categorization, I should say. Not on.
No, it's this. Left, right, who this, who that. How about just people with competence? How about just people with some doggone integrity? If people realize, it takes, unfortunately, it takes something like this, honest to God, for people to open up their dang eyes.
Well, the suspicious person in me asks, okay, now we have a crisis. What's going to be the outcome? Who's going to take advantage of this crisis, and how are they going to do it? What's this going to lead? It's either going to lead to, on the one hand, a revocation and a rebuke of the current leadership in power, or it's going to lead to more control. One of the two.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I hope that for the sake of California, here you've got one of those beautiful states in the union, and the place is a joke. I mean, we left there in 2020. I never thought in a million years I'd leave California. Of course, my husband's back in California. We're contemplating, me going back. But I got to tell you, James, I don't really want to. I really don't want to. And it's not, and in a large degree, it's home, but it's not the state I grew up in. I'll tell you that.
I'm with you on that. I'm in North Carolina, and our family is distributed in Texas and California. And we're thinking back at some point, because that's where our family is. My siblings and our friends, some have left, but to different places. So it is kind of it is a question of, well, do I want super quality of life? Well, what does that mean economically versus socially? You know, there's the family wise.
And that's what we're contemplating too, because you can't. My parents are aging, and we're sort of thinking about Sacramento area, and they're in El Dorado County, like I said, maybe El Dorado Hills, somewhere like that. I need to be closer to them. I really do. And you can't put a dollar figure on that, and I never will. But man, I'm telling you, it's so hard to go back and pay the enormous amount of taxes that we pay for such absolutely compromised people that are running the state. I mean, and what drives me crazy is the people that continue to support it and think that it's okay. It's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. And it's just devastating. It's just devastating. I think I've lost you, James. I think we're having some technical issues here, folks. I do hope that this message today finds those of you who have been impacted by this absolutely horrific week here in California, that by the grace of God, that you each get out of this and you have support. Know that there's so many of us that are praying for you and want nothing but the best. I don't care if you're a celebrity. I don't care if you live in the park. I could care less. Obviously, we don't want that for anybody. But my point is, we care and love people, and it's just devastating what you've gone through. And I hope and pray that we start to open up our eyes in the state of California, and we start to see that the people that are running it are incompetent. And by virtue of incompetence, this is what happens when we elect people that don't really know what to do. And they're so focused on, in a lot of cases, not the right things. This, unfortunately, is the outcome. Hopefully, we're going to get back together soon. We're going to be talking about a lot better news. Make it a great day. Bye for now.